The East region has been a rocky one so far. Yesterday, Syracuse knocked off at North Carolina. Today, we move to Hartford, where already Indiana has been dumped by Richmond. Georgia Tech to play Richmond later in the afternoon. But we will get started with the war of the heavyweights. The Hoyas of Georgetown against the top-ranked team in the country, the Temple Owls. And welcome. I'm Brett Musburger along with Billy Packer. It was tough in the opener for the Hoyas of Georgetown. Time running out. The score is tied against LSU. Charles Smith brings it up. Look at the far side of your screen. Watch the coach, John Thompson. John says, bring it over here, Charles. He would have nothing of it. He banks one in, and John's prayer was answered. Smith apologized for taking the shot. I think, Billy, the coach forgave him for that one.
All good plans of mice and men, huh?
Mark Macon, a sensational Temple freshman.
Well, he really is, Brent. I think most people consider him the top freshman in America today. He came into a nice situation, though. 4 veterans back, fit in there for Nate Blackwell. He's an explosive scorer.
Very calm. The big fella, Tim Ferry, underneath.
Well, he was the player of the year in the Atlantic 10 this year, and rightly so. He's a great shot blocker inside, and it'll cause a lot of problems for the Hoyas.
But I'll tell you, perhaps the two most fascinating personalities in this game are the coaches, John Thompson and John Chaney.
They are concerned with possessions and taking their time and trying to control the tempo of the game. We would like a more hectic pace. We would like to get the game moving faster, try to create turnovers.
It's a team that is pressure-oriented throughout the ball game. They have great athletes, and they pursue the ball in a relentless fashion up and down the floor. Whether they're behind you or whether they're in front of you, doesn't make any difference.
We have to have good perimeter pressure, but in the same time, I think that they have very good inside people that we're going to have to be concerned about. We're talking about a balanced team, so it'll be a tremendous challenge for us to defend this team.
Is this the year of the Temple Owls? Well, the Georgetown Hoyas will provide a mighty test coming up.
CBS Sports coverage of today's
Temple Owls. Now let's meet the starting lineups. For Georgetown, at forward, a 6'4" senior from New Orleans, Louisiana, number 10, Perry McDonald. For Temple, at forward, a 6'7" junior from Morrisville, Pennsylvania, number 32, Mike Vreeswyk. For Georgetown, at forward, a 6'8" senior from Robersonville, North Carolina, number 44, Ronnie Highsmith. For Temple, at forward, a 6'9" senior from Freehold, New Jersey, number 33, Tim Perry. For Georgetown, at center, a 7-foot senior from Detroit, Michigan, number 51, Ben Guillory. For Temple, at center, a 6'10" senior from Carolina, Puerto Rico, number 44, Ramon Rivas. For Georgetown, at guard, a 6'1" junior from Washington, D.C., number 13, Charles Smith. For Temple, at guard, a 6'5" freshman from Saginaw, Michigan, number 12, Mark Macon. For Georgetown, at guard, a 6'2" sophomore from Washington, D.C., number 20, Mark Tillman. For Temple, at guard, a 6'1" senior from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, number 21, Howard Evans. And introducing the head coaches, for Georgetown in his 16th season, John Thompson. For Temple in his 6th season, John Chaney.
And in this game, Chaney and the Temple Owls will be favored by 6 points. Coming up, it's the Hoyas against the Owls on CBS. Baruki. Now, the key to a Temple team is the turnover ratio. John Chaney wants that basketball protected. For John Thompson, it's create havoc out here. Go for the turnovers. So it's a clash of basketball philosophies this afternoon. Ramon Rivas in the Temple white wraps it up. The uniform's a story. Temples were stolen on the way over here. They had to rush a new set in. They arrived about an hour ago at the airport. Otherwise, we'd see brand new reserve numbers on some of these players. This is the freshman sensation.
Oh, what a block.
His first shot's rejected by Tillman, but he comes back.
Tillman right in his face, but it shows he's an emotionless player, is Mark Macon. Great defensive play. Straight man-to-man, and now Temple in their matchup zone.
McDonald, swingman, will be down on the inside a lot. Tillman up on top. Here's Smith, the hero against LSU, is loose.
Brent, one of the things most people don't do against the zone is drive against it, and I think it's one of the best moves against Temple because they're matching up so much.
Now here's the pressure from Georgetown. How Thompson will go out after it and try to create something. Evans, the off guard a year ago when Nate Blackwell was on the point, gets it up and they drop it into the middle, and the foul is on Highsmith, his first.
It'll be interesting to watch how the ball is called inside, particularly with Perry, who's such a good offensive player. As you know, Georgetown gets very little offensively on the inside with the exception of McDonald.
Jaren Jackson, the first substitute in as Guillory sits now for the Hoyas. Number 21, Jaren Jackson, slowly maturing into a big-time scorer for Thompson and the Hoyas. Here's Evans out on top, and Smith picks him up right now. They wanted Rivas. They go for the turnover. Tillman gets it into Rivas' hands, trying to save it.
You always want to throw that ball in the other direction.
Macon misfiring, but an offensive rebound from Perry. Can the Hoyas handle Perry underneath?
Going to be very difficult to handle him because he's a great offensive player and patient on the inside. Here's that matchup.
And they change up on the matchup. Sometimes they'll follow the cutters. Sometimes they'll stay in at 2-3. Others they'll switch out man-to-man. One of the best defensive philosophies in the East. The Hoyas get it on the inside to McDonald, that left hook, and Vreeswyk down with a rebound.
He was really aware of Perry's shot blocking ability, put it up a little quick for Perry McDonald.
They stay at the perimeter. Macon out of Saginaw, Michigan. Everyone in that town watching this sensation. Rivas, Puerto Rico, left hand.
Boy, a real tough matchup for Jaren Jackson, and we give Rivas a lot of credit. He's not a guy that does a lot offensively, but when he realized the small man was on him, he took it to him.
Thompson does not want to fall too far behind. He does not have a scoring team. He must rely on the defense to keep the Hoyas in there. Smith now at the top. Here's Tillman. Misses the three. Vreeswyk will run it down in the corner belt.
Georgetown really rushing their offensive shots.
Now let's see what Temple can come up. They'll want to slow down, take a few seconds. No, they do not. Vreeswyk comes up firing and hits the home run.
Mike Vreeswyk recognized the 1-3-1 zone from Georgetown right away. John's calling the timeout.
An early run by Temple against Georgetown. Beaten still in the tournament. That tough Rhode Island team they beat 3 times. Their only loss to UNLV in Vegas by a point. The only day that John Chaney wore a sport coat. He said enough of that. But in the second half against Lehigh, when it looked tough, he took the sweater off. He said the sweater was bad luck for Bobby Knight. I went down to my shirt sleeves. He has broken here early, Billy Packer.
He has, and John Thompson's got to figure out a way to stop him defensively. He tried the 1-3-1. That didn't work. His team is a little impatient offensively.
Smith trying to penetrate, and Perry's got it on the turnover. Temple's ball. Evans will bring it down now.
Goes back to the man-to-man defense. Jaren Jackson on Rivas has got a problem.
Perry down on the inside, being fronted by Highsmith.
Rivas holding his ground, looking for the screens inside.
Tillman running at Macon right now.
There's the screen for Vreeswyk.
He's alone.
Good move by Temple. They're so patient offensively, and of course in Rivas' case, he was so patient to stay down there. Vreeswyk rubbed right off him.
Billy, now watch the Temple defense as it sets up here. Maybe you can explain how they're going to move here now.
Well, it's a matchup defense, and what you find in Vreeswyk looking for a man to cover out on his side. Nobody was over there, so he fell back into the lane.
Georgetown out at the perimeter. Jaren Jackson, a good shooter. Temple aware of that. They get it in low now to Highsmith. Took a blow as he staggers back down to the defensive end for the Hoyas.
Very difficult team to press with Evans in the backcourt. He's so good with the ball.
Temple has hit its last 4 field goals as they blaze away. Perry being fronted by Highsmith effectively, so Evans gets inside as Smith then hits the jump shot. All 5 of Chaney's starters have scored. Turnover, now Evans out, Macon's on the right, and Evans will bring it back out. Too many Hoyas back. An intelligent decision by Evans.
Charlie Smith trying to draw the charge against Perry. So far, Highsmith's kept the ball away from Perry, trying to front him.
And you can see the frustration, Billy. Perry was coming up way high that time, going after the ball. Big John Thompson, 16 years, turned the Georgetown program around. He'll coach the United States Olympic team. As Tillman sits, you will see Thompson constantly shuffle and change this lineup. Use 10 men as Bryant has checked in now for his first action, number 12. Now Perry goes to work, throws up a jump hook. And Highsmith cleans it up on the other side. Hoyas need more offense. McDonald tried to crash in off his foot. It'll go over to Temple. That is 4 turnovers by the Hoyas.
Well, they're trying to force the tempo a little bit. And as I said, they've been a little impatient offensively. Rivas
will give it up as quickly as he can, and he did, into Vreeswyk's hands. Ramon Rivas, who went to high school at the same high school in Puerto Rico with the late, great Roberto Clemente. Learned how to play baseball down there. Highsmith fouling Tim Perry. Speaking of high schools, Tim Perry, number 33, is Highsmith. We'll go over. Tim Perry is from the same high school, New Jersey, as another superstar, a fellow by the name of Bruce Springsteen. Perry said, I hope he's a fan of mine. I like his music.
He was coached by a guy named Jack Cunard, who had Lenny Elmore at Power Memorial, one of the outstanding technicians in high school ball for many years.
Thompson continues to operate on the bench now, sending in Sam Jefferson, a 6'9" sophomore out of the Washington area.
Gives him a little better matchup size-wise. Going back and playing a little zone now. Back into that 1-3-1, Jaren Jackson running the line.
Jefferson jumped out on Macon, putting that size out on the young guard. They release him through, and as Evans comes down, he is fouled by Bryant.
John Thompson wanting a little push-off there on Evans.
It's 13-4. Thompson trails Temple.
Brent, there aren't many guards in the country that can control the ball like Evans because he also can score. So you have to really play him for the shot as well as his ability to get the ball inside.
Gets the ball into the freshman sensation's hand. Macon sends it back to Evans. Macon is very patient here early. He plays way beyond his years. They look inside. Now they get it into Perry. Against the double team, and that's the man Chaney feels Georgetown cannot stop, is Tim Perry.
Good job to go inside there against the 1-3-1. Perry's got a lot of shots. Turnaround jumper to half hook.
Here's Tillman. He'll shoot the 3. Jackson moves out on top. They'd like to get Jackson involved in the offense, and he fires the 3.
Nobody there at all, and why there was no one there is great penetration, which really sealed 2 men on the defense.
Now watch underneath and see what they do defensively against Perry and Rivas.
Now they're back to the man-to-man, Brent, so they changed. John's been changing every other time. Yes, sir.
It goes over to Georgetown.
Bryant and Tillman going to give Macon all he can handle. They're great athletes, very quick and strong.
That's 2 turnovers created by Thompson's defense. You heard him at the top of the broadcast say we'd like a more hectic pace.
Brent, now, and looking at the defense, for what people ought to watch about Temple is whenever a man's in the zone area, a guy guards him. If there's nobody there, he kind of shifts over and finds somebody to pick up. And that's what the matchup's all about. Zone with man-to-man principle.
Jackson again. Not this time, and Rivas with that wide body.
Great block out. He's beyond a wide body.
Vreeswyk.
Good screen by Evans.
Comes up firing under pressure and hits the 3-pointer. That's his second 3-pointer and 8 points for Vreeswyk.
Everybody on this team understands their role. They really extend the defense out with that 3-point ability, which opens up Perry later on.
Tillman not there, and Perry rebounding for the Owls. Now what must concern Chaney and the Owls is that this is a little too easy. 18-7 at the 12:30 mark. We've seen teams get to early leads and then relax. You can't do that if you're playing the Hoyas. Macon's air ball. Rivas is there.
Brent, what concerns John is the inside attack that Temple has and the fact that he has none. And John's the man slowing it down because he knows he's got to get something going inside. With Perry McDonald out of there, he really doesn't have somebody that can score inside.
Look down inside of what Billy Packer's talking about. Look at big Rivas over here. He's on the strong side, and there's Perry right there in the middle. That's the size that Georgetown is having difficulty with underneath. Tillman penetrates. They leave him alone.
Good rebound.
Stayed right with it.
Bryant Tillman.
So went on top of Evans, and he just turned it over on the dribble, and Chaney is upset with the official. Did not like the call.
You know, John Chaney was one of the great guards in Philadelphia playground history himself. Look at John. He go right into it. Went to Bethune-Cookman College when nobody offered him a scholarship in the Big Five.
What a great story he is. You talk about somebody who paid his dues. His first high school coaching job, he took over a team in Philadelphia that was 1-17. His first year out, they went 17-1. He's never looked back.
See how easy they're driving through? And I think that's the best play against this zone. And there's another turnover, and John really can't believe it. 4-4.
Now that is 4 turnovers. And Thompson liking what he sees at this point if he can just find some scoring. It's 20-11, Temple over the Hoyas. Jackson's 3, and what a great shooter he is becoming.
Well, he exploded for 20 off the bench in 33 minutes the other day. Pressure really picking up now.
Edwards back in there.
I tell you, you don't get a free dribble against a Georgetown defensive guy like Tillman.
Now you can see Edwards there trying to seal up Rivas. He gives away so much bulk underneath. Macon coming inside, fires up another miss. He's been way off target with his last 2 shots. Now it's Thompson's turn to be upset with the officials. Both of these coaches will work hard now, trying to get the advantage to swing in their direction.
But on that last play, Mark Macon's got the great ball fake inside, and he can go either left or right off that jump shot, so it's pretty tough to handle.
You see the Hoyas go right out on top of Evans. Keep working away now. Basically, this is a 5-man Temple team. Thompson hopes to wear them down, use 10 men, and take charge in the last 5 minutes. Vreeswyk patiently is open and bangs in a 2.
Now there's a case where Tillman's got to realize that Vreeswyk is not going to put the ball on the floor and beat you. He's a standstill jump shooter, so he shouldn't have rushed right out on him.
You know, those 4 turnovers, Billy. Temple allows less than 9 a game,
That's
about
right.
8.7, and already they're at 4.
There's
now Bryant.
That advantage, putting the ball on the floor and trying to drive between those seams.
Here's the shooter. Jackson short this time. But it's Edwards rebounding. Couldn't hit it, and now it is big Ramon Rivas underneath for Temple.
Jonathan Edwards just a little bit too excited in the inside. He's got to be more patient.
Evans quickly to Vreeswyk, who has been red hot here in the first half. Forced that one up, was a miss, and there is a foul underneath against Macon. That's his first and Temple's first. There are 4 team fouls on the Hoyas.
Brett, here's one of John Thompson's little free timeouts there.
And now he gets a full timeout. Players won't be happy with that. Big John was raging away over there. We'll be right back.
Screens where Macon likes to hide down on the inside and run the baseline, and they've done a good job beating him out to the spot.
So again, it is the Big East Conference against the Atlantic 10. Yesterday it was Rhode Island knocking off Syracuse. Now Temple trying to do the same to Georgetown. Bryant and Tillman out on top for the Hoyas. They move to Edwards, who ships back, almost a bad pass, but Tillman regains control.
It really hurts when you don't have an inside scorer against this type of defense, because now they can really play your perimeter game.
Jackson short. The Hoyas crash. Edwards gets a handle, and here's Jackson again.
You can tell that Georgetown's just a little bit overexcited in this ball game. Nothing smooth. Temple much more experienced ball club.
Jackson 3. Comes back on it, and a foul underneath on Ferry.
No block out on that play. Now, one of the things in the matchup defense that is tough is the block out responsibilities.
The start of a great day of college basketball action. The triple-header here this afternoon as we will come to the end of the second round. Maryland of the ACC against Kentucky of the Southeastern. Then Arizona of the Pac-10, one of the favorites, taking on Seton Hall of the Big East. Some of you will also see our second game, Richmond, which eliminated Indiana, taking on Georgia Tech.
Jackson, one of the few Hoya players that's very proficient from the foul line. The team, again, weak in the foul line, only shooting 60%.
You see Rivas keep Edwards away that time?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be leaning on him for a full game. Although Edwards, pretty good sized body himself.
There is that pressure. They go out after the ball.
Possession to John Chaney is 10/10 of the law, not 9/10.
Evans spins against Charles Smith, who is checked back in. Here is Macon. Missing still again, and it's run down by McDonald. McDonald looked for the break. It wasn't there as Evans had brought back defensively. Now the Hoyas can draw even closer as Macon struggles shooting, and Smith misses a three. Rivas wraps up still another rebound, his fourth.
You know, one of the things that also helps the way John wants to play is Rivas is not going to run off those rebounds. He's just going to hold them. 2-7.
Perry battling for the ball. Hit by Georgetown's Jackson, and he said he hit it last. It was off of him. That should be our ball. And indeed, one of the umpires corrects it. It'll go to John Thompson's Hoyas.
Get it. Now watch if Charles Smith doesn't try to penetrate right down the front a little bit against his zone when he gets the ball at the top of the key.
Georgetown could find a couple of shooters. They'd be right back in here. Getting opportunities against Temple. Tillman with the three.
They're living and dying with that three-point shot. They need to get something inside.
Thompson was not happy with Tillman that time. Barks at him as he comes down to the defensive end. Told him to get that ball back on the inside, and Thompson will make a lineup change as a result of it.
Nice job by Jaren Jackson. Forces Perry way outside.
Hands to Evans. Rivas.
Perry ought to be able to do something.
Make it with a great move to get free, and banging away with still another miss. Now it's Jackson.
That showed me a little bit, Brent, because he actually tripped and he used the backboard to slow himself down.
It's a 4-point game. And a foul against Smith in the backcourt. That's a 15 foul against Thompson's Georgetown. Not happy with that call either, as Rivas will take a break, and we will see Dwayne Coswell, the 6'11" freshman from Queens Village, New York, for the first time.
Brent, what I think we saw,
his uniform obviously didn't arrive, you could see.
What I think John was doing right there with the official, he doesn't want them to be calling hand checking. That's one of the things that his teams do so well, and he doesn't want any of those touch-type fouls.
Georgetown on an 11-2 run here against the Owls the last 5 minutes. Vreeswyk has suddenly cooled off. Oswald, but Vreeswyk runs it back down now, and Evans will set it up.
Harry McDonald just put an elbow in Vreeswyk's chest. They're starting to get real physical with him.
Perry against Jefferson, and he was fouled. That's 2 on Jefferson, 6 on the Hoyas. Still not shooting the 1-and-1. They will go into that bonus situation on the next one. Vreeswyk inbound to Evans. 6:40 to go in the first half. Jim Nance and James Brown coming your way at halftime. Macon turned it over. He traveled, and the freshman is struggling here in the first half.
Well, Brent, what happened to him there? That was the first time he'd been able to get out from that double screen and be wide open, but what happened was that he got a little anxious.
That is 6 turnovers by the Owls. Uncharacteristic of a Chaney-coached team, and that a bad pass.
Well, you know what happened? Bryant was looking over there and saw the official. Remind you of something? Remember New Orleans?
Yes, who will ever forget that moment when Freddie Brown threw it to James Worthy.
You'll notice on the right comes the official. He just saw him out of the corner of his eye, and there was the official who he threw it to. Dark enough jersey.
This game means a lot to both these teams and both these coaches and to the crowd. You can feel the intensity here at Hartford this afternoon.
That's Perry. Offense.
Leaning in.
That was great defense. Sam Jefferson playing very smart basketball. And so far, Temple hasn't figured out a way to get Tim Perry loose.
Temple was up by 11. Now it is 4. The Hoyas scratch and claw and keep coming after you. A team you will never see blown out of any basketball game.
John calls him back. He wants to run it set play against this matchup. Sending a lot of cutters through.
Bryant wanted Smith back on the pass and turned it over.
And that wasn't really Bryant's fault. Smith should have been filling that gap. It was thrown to the perfect spot.
Well, at the conclusion of this NCAA tournament game, we'll select a Chevrolet MVP from both these schools, and Chevrolet will donate a $1,000 scholarship to both Temple and Georgetown to assist qualified students in all chosen academic fields. Speaking of students, Ramon Rivas, who struggled with English when he first came to Temple, wound up with a 3.4 grade point average initially, studied such things as Portuguese. Vreeswyk with a miss. Rivas going into international studies, and Macon underneath with a rebound. The intelligence of the young man that we have heard about. His outside game struggling, so he goes and cleans up on the inside.
Ramon Rivas kept that ball alive for him with that wide body again. See, John doesn't have anybody in the post area, so he's surrounding that matchup zone all perimeter-wise.
Seconds ticking away in the first half. Macon reaching in, and that's his second personal foul. He was the first Temple starter to foul out of a game this year. That the other night against Lehigh, and already 2 here in the first half. Now shooting well, and Chaney is going to pick up the technical.
And what John and John are both working these referees in regard to the touch fouls. John Chaney doesn't want any touch fouls. John Thompson wants them to allow them. And this will be 2.
And Smith the shooter.
Brent Charles took his time out there shooting those foul shots, and John Clougherty was counting him on down.
We've got a timeout with the 4:54 mark. It's a 4-point Temple lead. Coach John Chaney stood here in this fashion and stared across the court at the referee, John Clougherty. And John stared right back at him for 90 seconds.
Well, John, if it's the first time that John had ever done that, it might have been effective. But he did that down at North Carolina, so it's not going to bother a seasoned official.
Warriors pass up an opportunity to pull to within 2 points now as Dowdle checks into the game for Temple. That is Jerome Dowdle. He's a 6'3" guard, a senior from Atlanta, Georgia. Macon takes his first break in the game. Here's Rivas in low, has it slapped away, and he's fouled. That's 3 on Jefferson as he reached back in, and now Temple will come to the free throw line and start to shoot the 1-on-1. Here's a summation of what we've had, and that top stat so important because Temple simply does not turn the ball over. And here in the first half already, 7 turnovers.
Ramon Rivas, like so many of the international players, a good free throw shooter for a big man.
You watch Georgetown as McDonald reports back in for Thompson. You watch them carefully this season, you know that they are only one thing short of being a very dangerous team, and that is firepower. Jaren Jackson, number 21, has been coming along for him. Charles Smith all along has been their top point producer. There's Jackson now putting it down on the floor.
John Chaney has been forced to go to his bench much earlier than he'd like in this ball game.
On rally by the Hoyas after falling behind early. Great save by Jackson. That ball was headed out of bounds. He saved it. Now they'll set it back up with a full 24 left on the shot clock. And Thompson barks out at Smith what he wants done this time.
Jaren Jackson trying to get free.
Reach in on Tillman. And that's Evans first. They have 5 team fouls, not yet in the 1-on-1.
And Brent, you see who called that foul? As I said, the seasoned man is not going to be intimidated by a stare by any coach for 90 seconds. Tillman. Going to call him as you see him.
Mark Tillman, the sophomore from Washington, averaging better than 13 points a game, and that one wouldn't stay down for him.
Of course, Tillman had 35 this year in that season high against Seton Hall. He is an explosive scorer.
Missing both, but the Hoyas get the missed free throw. Edwards on the inside with Rivas leaning on him. Smith moves to Tillman. Tillman loses the handle. Vreeswyk wisely holds it up. Evans was covered out on the break. That would not have been an easy layup. It's a 5-point lead by the Owls.
Good crossover dribble by Evans. Tough with that ball.
Dowdle not contributing too much offensively, and that personal against the Hoyas. Edwards too tight on Rivas.
Not a good foul, Brent, for the simple reason Rivas is not going to score from that far away from the basket. They don't have Perry in the game right now. You want to force Evans and Vreeswyk to go ahead and do all the offense. You've got 3 non-scorers in there.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. Don't push him, Jake. Keep your hands off. Hold on. Let's go. We're playing.
This summer, he hopes to play for the Puerto Rican national team. They'll have to go to Uruguay to attempt to qualify for the Seoul Olympics. Nate Blackwell ran this Owl team a year ago. He is here in Hartford watching. He was Ramon Rivas' roommate. Rivas first came to Temple, and he said he would start a sentence in English and just simply stop it halfway through, that he couldn't complete his thought. And Rivas has worked hard on his English at Temple, and he's conversant in 3 or 4 different languages.
Brent, you see John Chaney pulls out all his men off the line. John Thompson does likewise to be set up offensively against the defense.
He does not want the cheap foul down there, going for the missed free throw. Now it's a 7-point lead again. Time remaining first half here.
Yeah, Dowdle plays some tough defense on this wing over here.
Tillman off the fake.
Wow, but he goes right up with Dowdle. Over to back.
His first. Coming up at the other end.
John can't get Jaren Jackson to get the ball in shooting position against his defense because he's buried down in the baseline. One way to do that might be to get Perry McDonald on the foul line some so that he could dish off in there.
So Thompson returns Bryant. The winner of this game goes down to East Rutherford, New Jersey in the Meadowlands on Thursday night. And they will be playing the winner of the second game here this afternoon in Hartford, Georgia Tech against Richmond. Richmond eliminating last year's champions, Bob Knight and the Hoosiers of Indiana. You can see now the free throw situation that Billy Packer told you about. No white jerseys there.
And as I said, Georgetown, not a good free throw shooting team. Temple, great, shooting almost 73% as a ball club. Now let's see if John can figure out a way to get Jaren Jackson a ball.
Smith. The penetration move has been there against this matchup zone today.
Right, you can put the ball on the floor and go through the seams.
Temple has only 2 field goals against this Hoya defense in the last 9 minutes. And the Hoyas have created a lot of turnovers.
Not a good shot.
Forces one into the hands of McDonald.
Perry McDonald's getting to him, Brent.
The drive. And the foul goes against Vreeswyk, his first.
I think the Georgetown players are starting to recognize something about the defense, and John Chaney's going to have to make some adjustments, and that is put the ball on the floor and drive against it. They're going right through.
Teams left in the tournament at the free throw line. Georgetown struggled this year at 60%. Richmond, whom you will see later against Georgia Tech, some of you, they haven't done a whole lot better.
2 shots.
So Bryant steps at the line with 2 free throws for Thompson and the Hoyas. Thompson's 5 of 7 at that free throw line, which is strong for the Hoyas here in the first half. They can reduce the lead to 4. Dowdle contributing off the bench.
Well, you notice Chaney not going back to Perry or Macon. He does not play him when they've got 2 fouls in the first half, so they're going to have to sit the rest of the way.
Dwayne Coswell and Jerome Dowdle. Two men who did not expect to see this much action in the first half of this one.
Good
deflected, and Vreeswyk runs it down. Then muscles through and creates an offensive foul.
Nobody double teams better than Georgetown, and a technical foul on Rivas. Brent, a great statement by John Thompson when talking about his ball club this year. He said, you know, at times I'm sure they hated me because I called them everything in the book, including this is the worst Georgetown team, but they've met their potential.
That technical foul was on Vreeswyk.
Oh, Vreeswyk? I thought it was Rivas.
Technical fouls, the second against the Owls. They're 3 of 3 at the line against them.
Of course, the difference between that technical being a one-shot obviously was a player, not a coach. There's a double team. Nobody double teams as well as Georgetown in the country. And believe me, they work at it day in, day out. Bobby Winston in the game now.
Just the first time we've seen him.
Yeah.
Smith now steps right in and a little short. Rivas comes up with it and hands it off to Evans. It's a 4-point Temple lead. We're inside of 2 minutes.
John looking to change his defense again on. Stay tight man.
Stolen by Smith. He'll go for the layup.
Notice how Rivas is the man that comes back to help them get the ball up court.
Foul on Smith, and he struck Rivas accidentally in the face.
Got him in the eye.
Second personal on Smith. They are, of course, over the limit and have been for some time. McDonald returns for the Hoyas.
You look at Rivas' face, I think he's starting to get a little annoyed at all this body contact. We may see an elbow or two start to clean some things out.
He is 4 of 5 at the free throw line. Interesting as you watch international competition, and from Korea you'll see it. Foreign players, big men now, are much better free throw shooters than their American counterparts. Don't ask me why, but every time you'll see an international team, Rivas reminding me of it because he figures to go with the Puerto Rican national team. Now they come down toward the 1-minute mark. It's a 4-point lead. Temple has led all the way here in the first half, once up by 11. The last tie was at 2-all. Here's Jackson out on top. Oh, great block by Oswell, the freshman. And Bryant will ask him to do it again, and he does.
It shows you some guts on Bryant's part.
So here in Hartford, Connecticut, the second round of the East Regional at the Hartford Civic Center. The Temple Owls in their home whites leading the Georgetown Hoyas. The Atlantic 10 in the Big East. Already the Atlantic 10 1-0. As Rhode Island, coached by Tom Penders, did a splendid job yesterday in eliminating Syracuse. Now Temple, which has never proceeded past that second round for Coach Chaney, would like to do it to the Hoyas.
And of course, John got a break on that because there's no more time left on the shot clock. They'll be able to go for the last shot. Is he going to go man-to-man? Yeah. How about this? No, he's just pulled out. He's pulled out his defense a little bit.
Smith very dangerous on the move if he starts to penetrate. He got it up high on the glass, and that'll come. It'll be the end of the first half. Temple has led it all the way, and it's the Owls 30, the Hoyas 26. And our coverage of this NCAA basketball championship will continue after this message and a word from your local station. Georgetown in only 3 of their last 15 shots.
Well, they have had trouble getting the ball on the inside, Brett. They don't have an inside attack. You got to remember, only 2 teams this year have shot over 50% against Temple, so that's not unusual. Georgetown, though, is finding some seams in that defense, and they may be able to get it going in the second half.
Take a look at this stat, Billy. Turnovers. The average 9 in the first half. The Hoyas forced the Owls to turn it over 9 times. Rebounding, however, with Ramon Rivas leading the way along with Tim Perry. 20-12 edge there. Field goal shooting percentage, what I spoke about, Georgetown only 35 and Temple 50. Now the freshman sensation, averaging 21, has been held to 4 on 2 of 7. John Thompson has sent 4 defenders after him. Tillman, Jackson, Jefferson, and now Smith. Macon did have 1 bad shooting game this year. That was at West Virginia. He hit only 23%, was held to 8 points. The only time he has been fewer than double figures. And please check the Temple coach. John Chaney has again dropped the sweater. He is in the huddle as he did against Lehigh. The sweater has come off.
But what has come back on in Macon and Perry? Anybody, and that'll help a lot more than the sweater. And what happens anytime in the first half that they get 2 fouls on them, he lets them sit. So they set a total of 11 minutes in the first half.
The Hoyas with the first possession of the second half. Highsmith down in the middle. Here's Jackson out on top. He was 3 of 7. Here's Tillman. Rivas jumps out on him from the zone. McDonald down on the inside. Perry was there. And this is Charles Smith with the shot. Macon rebounds. Now, Temple had 27 first half possessions, 14 scores, but they turned it over 9 times. They turned it over 33% of the time against the Hoyas. That very disturbing to John Chaney. Protecting the ball, the keystone of his basketball philosophy. Macon spins inside. This is his first shot of the second half.
Definitely forced it. Now he has a green light to shoot on this ball club, but he can get a better shot than that.
Jackson missing and Vreeswyk down with the rebound. It's a 4-point lead just underway here in the second half. Big afternoon of basketball. We'll send you around the country, the Southeast, Midwest, West Regional. Everybody living that dream right now. Want to be going to Kansas City in the Final Four.
Brent, what I think that Temple can do to free up Macon, and there's what it was right there, to stop coming out over the top, because what happens, Georgetown's waiting for him at the top. He can get something on the baseline.
The freshman's shooting problems continue against the Hoyas. Yesterday at practice, Georgetown was confident that they could at least slow him down and contain him. They were much more concerned about Tim Perry, number 33, down in the middle defensively.
Beautiful
Here's
pass.
McDonald.
The defense was so concerned about Charles Smith coming over the top. Great bounce pass by Jackson.
And that's McDonald's first field goal of the game, and it pulls the Hoyas to within 2.
But that's a hole, Brent, in that defense where McDonald, being so quick, can beat Rivas if he gets the ball down and low there.
Here's Vreeswyk in behind Rivas on the weak side, and they were trying to get the ball to Perry. Jackson dueling him on that side, commits his first personal. Speaking of some of the other regions around the country, Arizona out west will be in action a little bit later. And we can see in the Midwest in Lincoln, it'll be Kansas against Murray State, which dumped North Carolina State.
That's 2. There's where he can get his shot, is stay more on the baseline instead of coming out over the top. The defense is playing him to come out off the screen. Perry McDonald be wise to get over in the Rivas side. That's a blocked shot in there.
McDonald not tall enough to go up over Rivas in that situation.
Rivas hurt his
another
shoulder.
blow.
That's a big shoulder there to hurt. I'd take Rivas over the basket stanchion.
Oh, he's been hit in the face. Now the shoulder. It's been tough on the inside. McDonald can't get it to fall. Had the layup, and it wouldn't stay down for him. So it's 32-28 now. The Owls of Philadelphia come to the attack.
Watch Macon, Brent, if he doesn't realize. See, he's starting to realize what the defense is doing to him now.
And he got it inside to the big fella, and here comes Tim Perry.
Uh-oh. Owens hurt himself, Brent. He's really hurting. I don't know if it's his back. He's bent over here. The referee ought to stop the game.
Evans is down.
I think he hurt his back.
The point man for Temple, and he is in pain. It is stiff. Staying out there.
Tillman recognized and goes by him.
And the defense closed on him nicely that time.
I don't think he can stay in. I don't think he can stay in the game.
Chaney watching him carefully, and there's the turnover. Now Chaney wants to get the signal, and Evans with both hands on his back, grimacing as he comes back down the floor. And it appears as though Chaney will make a move now over on the sideline.
Brent, he can change almost anybody on this club and not hurt him. There's a substitution. Dowdle coming into the ball game. But he has nobody that can play the spot that Evans plays.
Let me ask you this. How about the freshman? Can Macon come back and run the team?
I don't think that's what he wants him to do in his ball game. He's going to have to move back to the point. He has those skills, but I tell you, to lose Evans at a point like this is disastrous for Temple.
Evans is off right now with a back problem. He also came into the game. There's a turnover against the Hoyas. Traveling is the call. That's their 9th turnover. There with the back, he came into the game with an ear infection, according to Temple, and that has been bothered him. They felt before the game, as Charles Smith comes back in for the Hoyas, that he would play all the way.
And here is Macon going to play that point. It really hurts him because now he has to distribute the ball, takes away some of his great offensive ability.
However, he has not been shooting well. Let's see what happens. There he is, the 5-second violation. So he immediately commits a turnover, and now it could become a struggle for Chaney.
And particularly a day like today where Macon has been struggling offensively anyway. Now he has to change his complete role.
And the turnovers mount against Temple. This is McDonald jump hook blocked by Perry. He's a great shot blocker.
Boy, Dowdle can guard you.
Three-pointer not there, and Bryant goes up over the back, and no foul is called. Took it away, and Smith misses the home run, and Rivas cleans up this time.
He moved Highsmith all the way out underneath the basket. This game really has some drama. Evans back on the sideline. Brent looks like he can come in.
Macon was fouled, and Temple wants it to fall, and the official still not signaling, and now scoring. There it is. Score the field goal and put the sensation on the line, and here comes Evans.
Evans back in. He's still a little gimpy, though.
Norm, they think you counted a good hoop. They think you counted
now,
a hoop rather than on the floor. Yeah.
Now, wait a minute. We've got to straighten this out. Now, they didn't count the basket. Now Chaney's going to be furious. Well, he thinks that when he sent his hand down, that he counted the hoop. He moved his left hand down, but he did not count the basket. No basket in that situation, so they have changed now. And there's another turnover.
Brent, what he was pointing down to is the spot on the floor where the foul occurred, not that the hand was making the motion that the basket counted.
If John Chaney had been coaching, well, say the Philadelphia 76ers, that would have counted. For you folks in Philly, that's not as far-fetched as it sounds either. I happen to think John Chaney would make a great NBA coach. That's what he'd like to do. I'm sure that Temple wants to keep him where he is. He's done such a great job with this program. Now Evans eyes the floor for Chaney.
14 turnovers.
Rivas gives it back. Look how they front Rivas. Constantly moving down on the inside. So much pressure from these Georgetown athletes. Vreeswyk is tied up, and the foul is called on Perry McDonald. That's his first personal of the game, and the team's third. No team fouls against Temple. We have 15:09 to go. It's a 6-point lead for the Owls.
Got to be after.
Now Vreeswyk.
Brent, since the opening part of this game, Vreeswyk has never been in a position to get his shot off, and credit that to the fact that Georgetown is making him put the ball on the floor. He's just not getting the jumper off.
It is first 4. Now the Hoyas again in search of some offense.
But they've really flattened out that zone.
Thompson wants a timeout at the 14:59 mark. Down by 8 points.
Very, very along in terms of the very, very vital elements we need on the floor. Certainly we have players on the bench that can come in, but we don't have another Howie Evans to come in and replace him. So if Howie Evans gets into foul trouble, I'm in deep trouble.
Well, Evans was in an injury problem a while ago with that painful back injury, but now he has returned to the floor. He's taking Charles Smith, and Bryant's field goal is good.
Brent, that's only the 4th point in the second half, so almost 5 minutes with 4 points.
Against the Hoya pressure, Macon has it up. Still can't find the stroke, but he'll run it down for you and keep on firing. Drew the foul on Jackson. He'll come to the free throw line.
Georgetown got a piece of his elbow on both of those shots. That first shot was not that far off.
So here in Hartford at the East Region, along with Billy Packer, I'm Brent Musburger. Temple, the #1 team in the nation, has led all the way. The game was tied at 2. And you can see that Georgetown has hit only 5 of its last 24 field goals. They are 2 of 9 here this half.
You know, one of the things incredible about Macon, and I'm sure he'll work on this in the offseason, he only went to the foul line this year 80-some times. And a guy that's a great slasher like he is, obviously then is using his jump shot instead of taking it to the hole. Watch this matchup defense. They've really flattened out now because Georgetown's working the baseline. It's almost a 1-2-2 in concept now as opposed to the way it started off.
Inside to McDonald with that quick move of his.
He's really worried about Perry's shot blocking ability. He's having to extend a little bit too much on the hook.
And that's the 3rd on Highsmith, so he'll go over to Thompson's bench. And Thompson, with a bit of coaching over there on the sideline, keeps Ronnie in the game despite the 3 fouls. Tim Perry was only 6'1" when he was a youngster in high school. Didn't play any big-time basketball until he became a junior. Then he made like a David Robinson. And here is number 3 down on the inside. Evans.
Nice. Well, we saw 2 great guards from the Atlantic 10 yesterday. And we're seeing another great combination here today with Evans and Macon.
Evans showing his experience. Macon struggling at 3 of 11. So Evans, the shooting guard when Blackwell ran this team, now he steps up and hits a field goal, and the lead swells to 10 here.
Which is a huge lead considering the tempo of this game. Georgetown looking for Perry again down inside.
Jackson and McDonald with an offensive rebound. Highsmith taps it in. Back down to 8, and here comes that Hoya pressure off the made field goal.
Haven't been many second shots that Georgetown's been able to convert today.
Evans quickly into the hands of Macon.
Evans looked a little gimpy when he came back in, but it looks like that back is okay now. Must have had just a little spasm or a strain in it.
Bryant's turn to track the freshman. Evans brings Smith around to the left side. Macon goes back for the ball. Puts that spin move on with that jump shot, and there's the stroke.
That's the first time today he's been able to get that jumper off nice and easy. Good defense by Vreeswyk.
Great save by McDonald, diving for that loose ball. One of the great hustling teams in college basketball. It really has been through the years, especially in the 80s when John Thompson won his championship during the Patrick Ewing regime. Got into a couple of other finals. Kids who play their hearts out.
Look at John's orchestrating the whole offense right now. Now, he's being very patient considering being down 10 with that clock.
Jackson's 3 way off. Loose. McDonald had it hit by Macon, and it's Hoya's ball. That's next. Maryland and Kentucky coming your way. Eddie Sutton trying to make a move on a Final Four appointment in Kansas City in the Southeast. They got a team from Oklahoma down there doing very well. And then out west, Arizona. How good is Lute Olson's team? You'll find in some of those answers this afternoon.
And if Tolbert doesn't play, Lute Olson is really going to miss an important part of that clog there. A good man in the middle that can score. So tough to beat this team with nothing but perimeter game.
And that's where the Owls are keeping the ball right now as the shot clock comes down inside of 20 seconds.
See, with Tucker in the game and Highsmith in the game, they just have nobody to play in the post to score.
Hoya's hesitating a little bit before they stroke. There's the block shot in the corner by Perry. Rivas wraps it up. Now the Hoyas must create turnovers. Thompson must turn it up. He's down by 10. This is how he got back in the LSU game. Vreeswyk is
Oh, it goes.
scored. What a great move by Vreeswyk.
It's pretty tough, too. Well, Vreeswyk has been elbowed and shoved and hand-checked all day, and now he's starting to put a little body back in there.
You check how the conferences are doing. Big Ten, ACC, as expected, doing strongly. This could be a tough afternoon for the Big East. And let us not forget the Atlantic 10. Rhode Island rolling 2-0, and now Temple with the lead 45-32. This could be the biggest day in the history of that conference if they back up huge wins against the Big East. They are overshadowed by all the television coverage that the Big East receives. The Atlantic 10 has been the little sister, if you will, and now they're starting to grow up.
Brent, can you see Temple getting much more aggressive defensively? They realize there's no inside game. They're making everything in the perimeter so tough to get. That's a three-pointer from the NBA range.
And Tillman quickly to Macon, who lost the handle on the ball. Winston up with it now for the Hoyas. And it's Macon, the freshman, after committing the turnover, raced to the other end of the court and knocked the ball out of bounds. Notice his manner. Just take a look at that face, because it seldom changes. A lot of great athletes come around, and one thing, they seem to maintain that calm. They never get too high and they never get too low. Tucker playing for the first time for the Hoyas, number 41. .20 left in this game.
Good solid screen by Tucker.
And Tillman misfired, though, badly to the left, and there's Rivas.
That's something you can also do against this matchup zone. Come out, try to set some solid screens on those perimeter fellas.
Temple has not committed one team foul this half, and Macon's pressed one, and there was Vreeswyk. Vreeswyk having a great game. 17 points. He started red hot. Now he's come up with a couple of big field goals here for Chaney.
Everybody knows their role on this team, Brent. You can see that. Vreeswyk very seldom handles the ball. Always there on the offensive end at the right place at the right time. There's Tucker trying to set more screens out top. John has a lineup in the game right now that's having a hard time getting any kind of offense because there's no inside game at all. He's got to bring Perry McDonald in, which he's doing right now.
And it commits a turnover. That's the 11th turnover by the Hoyas in this game. Now into Rivas. Edwards there with him. Ramon will muscle in, and he draws the foul. And that is the 7th team foul on the Hoyas. Still none on Temple in this half, and 9:10 to go. What do you think, Billy? The stare down worked?
No, I don't think the stare down had anything to do with the referees at all. But what I think right there, we saw Ramon Rivas have a great technical move when he took that ball with his left hand and turned the corner. He's a very underrated player. You know, you look at his body and you want to, you know, smile a little bit at him. But I'll tell you what, the kid knows what he's supposed to do on this team, and he does it extremely well.
I'll tell you, that's an NBA set of hips. You watch the NBA the next time they're playing. You watch those big fellas muscle one another out of there. Remember guys like Paul Silas and that?
Well, those may be NBA hips, but they'll never see the NBA. Believe me.
No, but he'll make the Puerto Rican national team.
Okay, I'll give you that.
He'll be the center. He'll go to Korea. Okay.
You covered that game in Guatemala for him.
I don't know how many expansion teams we're going to have. Half a dozen. Maybe we get him a spot.
He can shoot NBA foul shots.
9:10 to go, and Temple in control. Regions now, the Southeast and Cincinnati. Villanova, Illinois should be a good one. You will also see Maryland and Kentucky. In the Midwest region this afternoon, in Lincoln, Nebraska, Kansas and upstart Murray State, Vanderbilt against Pittsburgh. Then out west later today, this in the Poly Pavilion, Arizona, Seton Hall of the Big East, Iowa to the Big Ten team, and UNLV. For the game, John Thompson's Hoyas are shooting only 30%. They are 4 of 17, and you can see where the ball is. The Owls have kept it out there, right at the perimeter.
Now Perry McDonald's back in, but he's down there against Tim Perry and Rivas, and it just like he feels like a little twig among the forest trees down in there.
If there were any doubts about Temple, I think Rhode Island dispelled most of them yesterday with that job on Syracuse. Air ball, McDonald catches it, misses, and Little Smith comes up with it. Fine offensive player.
Again, Brent, you see where Perry McDonald is having a hard time getting any kind of shot off because Perry's such a great shot blocker. He's altering his shot inside.
John Thompson thinking Alonzo Mourning, you can't get here quickly enough. The big fella coming to Georgetown. Highly touted freshman. He'll give John some inside scoring punch for this Hoya team. One of the things you will never see here. Hoyas will keep scratching and clawing and coming at you with that pressure defense. Macon hits the three.
That was a great offensive set by Temple that time. Macon playing peekaboo with Ramon Rivas and then stepping out to get a one-on-one isolation.
The first blue chip prospect who John Chaney has ever recruited into the hands of Rivas. But in effect, Macon recruited them. He got down to 2 schools, and you're looking at both of them, Temple and Georgetown. And he decided to go to Philadelphia and play for John Chaney. Came out of Saginaw, Michigan. Vreeswyk misfiring, loose, run down by Smith. Here come the Hoyas looking for an opportunity break. Smith will pull up the 3.
Look at Perry hustle. What a great move on his part. He went 90 feet to be ready to grab that rebound. You know, he set an all-time NCAA opening round record for shots blocked the other day against Lehigh with 8.
Fabulous defense and some poor shooting by the Hoyas.
Now watch what's happening over here. Rivas and Macon playing that little 2-man game for isolation. Ooh, that's what, oh, is he having a day, huh? Didn't know what to do with it, so just shoot the little jumper.
Bill Cosby, break out the champagne. 7 minutes to go, 54-37.
Brent, one of the things I've felt about Temple all year long is if you don't have a number of days to prepare for this defense, you've got a problem. For Georgetown, it was 1 day. That's not enough.
Rivas fouled McDonald. That's the first team foul on these Owls. Great experienced team, and they have struggled in the second round. We were there in Chicago when LSU beat them a year ago. Georgetown took them out in 85, and John has never been around past the second round, and here he is with the top-rated team in the nation. He's lost only 1 game. That was by 1 point in Las Vegas. He had the last shot and didn't put it down. Here he's in control. 54-37. 47 now to go, and the #1 team in the nation, Billy Packer, playing like it.
Well, they really are, and I give John Chaney and his staff a great deal of credit. First of all, the patience in that first half, and he had 2 of his star players, his 2 real star players, with 2 fouls. He took them out, and they sat for 11 minutes combined, and he puts them right back in the second half. You know what reminds me of, Brent, the second half defensively? Remember the Georgetown-Kentucky game, now realizing that Kentucky had much more power inside in Seattle when Georgetown shut them down to 9 points in the second half. It's been that type of defense by Temple.
It was 30-26 at the half. It's 54-38 now. 6:44 to go. Here's the 2-on-1. Evans will bring it out and just run some seconds off the clock. Chaney will go to work now on that clock. Macon holding up, down. Being pursued by Tillman.
And you mentioned Macon could move back to that point guard with Evans out there, but you saw how fast John Chaney got Evans back in, and I thought the little piece where he said he can do anything, but he doesn't want Evans in trouble.
On the turnover. That's 14 turnovers by the Owls. Jackson couldn't hit the layup. And 2 Hoyas hammer away inside. McDonald keeps it alive.
You don't get in there often against Perry.
And the Owls beat the pressure with Vreeswyk on the dribble. Foul against Georgetown. That's 3 on Tillman.
You see what John Chaney is talking to Vreeswyk about, taking the ball down and handing it off to a man that can be double-teamed, and Chaney came right off that bench. It's funny to talk, when you hear John talk like today, he was talking to me, and he and Jimmy Maloney, who's his great assistant coach, said, now, Billy, you know, when teams play out in the yard, then you've got to worry about them if they get things going in the kitchen, because they'll come in through the back door and eat off your table. I mean, that would be the kind of... Now, you have to really sit back and decide, well, what is he really telling me here?
I got to tell you something. I'll tell you what he told you. The Hoyas are starving to death.
Well,
nobody came in. Yeah. They didn't come in and eat off that table
exactly.
Today.
They didn't have anybody to go to the kitchen, get the food out of the refrigerator.
John Chaney, unorthodox in his method, but so successful. This team practices, folks, at 5:30 in the morning. They got ready for John Thompson at 5:30 in the morning. Why? Well, it gives them the rest of the day to study, says the coach, and something else. They go to bed at night. Jackson on a wraparound, not there. Highsmith off with the rebound. Jackson misfiring.
Oh, look at Vreeswyk
with the ball. Vreeswyk.
Well, he took it down with him. Automatic walk. Vreeswyk's having a great all-around ball game, though.
As far as shooting from the field is concerned, Georgetown has struggled all year. Temple hasn't shot that well either, except for Macon. This is Tillman.
Tim Perry's driving them crazy inside because they realize his presence is there and everybody just looking for him now. Of course, some of these players had a chance to practice against Patrick Ewing. They know what it feels like.
I don't think any team beat Georgetown by more than 7 points this year. We'll get a check on that, but I don't think so. It's 56-40 right now with 5.5 minutes to go. I remember St. John's beating them by 7 once.
You know, Brent, what you have to start thinking about with all the blowouts yesterday, there are some giants ready to match. Somebody is going to have these scores reversed. The Oklahomas, the Michigans, the North Carolinas. Keeps that ball in the left hand, shoots right.
Vreeswyk, McDonald, and Rivas fouling. That's his second personal foul. 2 team fouls on the Owls here in the second half. They have played a splendid half of basketball with 5:12 to go, and they would move on. This holds up and take on the winner of the Georgia Tech-Richmond game.
I like what Evans did right there as the leader of the ball club, and he and John Chaney getting a little eye contact right now. Evans went over to say to Vreeswyk and Macon, why? We don't need any of those kind of shots with this type of lead and this clock. Make Georgetown do all the work. The object is to win the game.
Traveled.
You know, Macon, although he doesn't have to in this particular defense play a guy head up man-to-man all the time, with his foot quickness, he's going to be some kind of defender as well.
That's true. The stats man Roger Riley confirms that the worst beating Georgetown suffered this year was 7 points. It's amazing because they do not have a scoring team, having lost Reggie Williams. They've done it defensively. And here now, the Owls with an opportunity to crush that mark.
You don't want that handoff over there towards that double team. You notice he got the message across to Vreeswyk. No need to take that jumper. It's a very talented and experienced team here. Only Nate Blackwell missing from a club last year that was one of the best in the country.
He's right up there behind the Temple bench, about 4 or 5 rows. Foul against Bryant.
Of course.
What a job they have done
28%.
You know, it was Tom Penders who said to me yesterday, just what you did. He said, Brent, I'm not sure that Georgetown can handle that on only 1 day's preparation. He said that's a very sophisticated matchup zone because he said John's constantly changing you. And when you come down the floor, he said, Evans will make a call, and sometimes they'll go with the cutters, and other times they won't. And he said it's going to be real tough because Thompson doesn't have shooters.
I'll tell you another thing. John Chaney doesn't go to clinics. And when I talk to him, try to get into his head about this defense, he said, Billy, that's one thing we don't discuss.
Highsmith up and
on the rim, but not called. Look at how often Rivas is the key man with
Ferry.
That goes. Ramon Rivas and Vreeswyk today have had great games. Rivas with he helps him out against the press with those great hands. He's looked ahead and very efficient with the ball in the low post.
I really think that when the tournament began, a lot of folks who cover the field of 64 probably felt that, well, Temple's coming out of the Atlantic 10. Maybe they haven't played that good a schedule, and maybe they really aren't Final Four material. I think that's been dispelled by Rhode Island here now, eliminating Syracuse, and Temple closing in on Georgetown. Without a doubt, this is a team fully capable of going to Kansas City.
Somebody in the lane? Now, can you imagine that? Being in the lane when you have nobody there to worry about rebounding. John can't believe it. But it was a good call. And now what you have, Chaney looking down at John. You're going to stare each other down. Brent, another team that didn't have time to prepare for Temple that got blown away was the University of North Carolina earlier this year.
On the drive, Jackson foul. What, 19 turnovers? Was that stat that came out of there? There was some.
In that particular game, North Carolina played 4 games in about 5 days, and they had to play Saturday, Sunday. And if you don't have time to work against this defense, you've got real problems.
So Maryland, Kentucky coming your way. Billy, your feeling about that game that the country's about to see. Can Maryland stick with the Wildcats?
Well, there's a big difference between these two clubs, and that's tournament experience. Maryland Bob Wade did a fine job putting that program back together. They had the talent there, and they do have Final Four type talent, top 20 talent, but they just haven't had tournament experience. Eddie Sutton's had a lot of it.
61-44 now with 4 minutes to go. The pressure from the Hoyas trying to create some turnovers and climb back in this, but the experienced Temple team getting the ball into Perry's hands, and he'll bring some seconds down off the clock.
And again, they're going to make Georgetown work. No sense throwing it away, as I said.
Jefferson fouled Vreeswyk.
John Chaney says possession is 10/10 of the law in his basketball system.
Let me give you a substitution statistic on this game. John Thompson substituted 35 times so far, and John Chaney 5.
And Brent, think about this. One of them was Evans when he was hurt, okay, and 2 others were the times he had to take out Perry and Macon because of fouls. So he really has made 2 moves all day. This is a talented role player, is what Vreeswyk is.
Well, there are a couple of well-coached basketball teams in Philadelphia when you think about it. Villanova with Raleigh Massimino and the Owls. Smith, chance for the three-pointer, scored. He draws the foul on Macon. He'll come up to the free throw line. Temple trying to extend its winning streak to 17. Later today, Arizona against Seton Hall. How about that matchup, Arizona and Seton Hall, Billy?
Well, Seton Hall's a team really on the roll, coming on strong at the end of the year. Arizona, a team that I think is just starting to get it going again. And again, I think the key to that game is Tolbert. If he can go physically, Arizona is a team that just may have a little bit too much firepower. Again, you have tournament experience to think about there as well. I don't know why these guys are wanting to get in the lane.
One shot.
Pretty nice stroke, isn't it?
You bet. Great future for that young man. Jackson.
And Brett, why aren't we saying anything about John Chaney substituting now with this big lead like we were on Billy Tubbs' case yesterday at Oklahoma or Iowa? Okay, I won't lay you into that. But you know, there's Billy Tubbs. He's got a 100-point lead, and he's going up and down the court. Well, John's going crazy here with a 20-point lead.
Maybe that's why he wins 80% of his games.
Well, he is pushing up there with the target. He's getting up over the 80% mark now.
You know what a lot of folks don't realize is when he came out of Bethune-Cookman, the doors were closed to him in the NBA because of racism. Let's face it, there was a quota in those days. John Chaney didn't get the opportunity, and he went to the Harlem Globetrotters for a while. And he said, I just didn't like games where you knew the outcome before they started. He went to the Eastern League for 10 years before he got an opportunity to coach a junior high team. He succeeded there. Then high school, then Division II winning a championship at Chaney State. And now here with the Temple Owls. And this is such a big afternoon for him if he can beat John Thompson, who knocked him out of the tournament a few years ago.
Now he's really getting hot because what he's putting on is a clinic right here in regard to going up.
67-50, a 17-point lead at the 3-minute mark.